Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys all had a restful weekend and you were able to recharge. I had a great weekend. I actually dropped Max off at the Branson airport and he flew to California. And he's going to be there for a bit, visiting his friends and things. But he is happy to call where we're at home base. And so he'll be back, I think probably after 4th of July. He'll be coming back. But man, that Branson airport is beautiful. I don't know if any of you who have ever been to the Branson airport have seen what an amazing airport that is. It looks like you're driving into the heart of these big, beautiful mountains. Well, they're like more like, they're like half mountains. They're not like huge mountains, and it's just covered in this landscape that I've never seen before in my life. Max says it looks like a tiered cake or something. How they cut these, it looks like literally the mountains are just cut out. It's definitely a very, a very, very cool place. And so we had a lot of fun driving, and the airport's not far, so he hopped on a plane. Now I put up some Instagram pictures for those of you that go over to the Instagram. There's a picture of Max on there. You can see Max all grown up compared to his baby pictures that I've also uploaded to this channel from time to time in the past. And you can see him all grown up. And I also put some fishing pictures up there as well for those that are interested. But anyway, I have a special surprise for you guys today. And I wasn't expecting this, but I was kind of bored over the weekend. I thought maybe I should get into some of these movies and films again. And so I started watching a film that you guys actually recommended to me. The film is called Spiderhead. Now, first, the advertising for this particular film didn't look too interesting, so I was like, is this going to be any good? And so I decided to check out Spiderhead. And several of you have asked me to look at this, and this movie was a trip. So I'm going to present the few clips that I put together for this movie today before we get into some of these headlines. Now, what is Spiderhead about? Well, it's about a rich pharmaceutical entrepreneur with this sick fascination for testing medications on this captive audience. The captive audience are these ex-convicts who are basically trapped in this facility on an island, and the medications that this guy's testing cause extreme emotion, sadness, lust, anger, fear. And the reason why the ex-cons have to kind of go along with this is mostly because of guilt about their past crimes. And they've also been threatened with being returned to the general population if they do not comply. So why are we covering Spiderhead? Well, as we know, spiders are hemocyanin, copper blood-based creatures. Here you can see in this study the evolution and adaptation of hemocyanin within spiders. It is an oligohexameric copper protein. Instead of iron-based blood, it's copper-based blood. Now, we've been over this many, many times, but you're going to see how this fits into this particular movie, which is all about using drugs to control people's minds. Basically, everything that we had discovered up to this point, isn't it? So, the sadistic pharmaceutical CEO, he buys copper pots for the chef. And we were just talking about copper pots, weren't we? It's creepy how these brand new shows contain elements of things that we had just talked about. And they'll usually air like a week or two after we talked about something. And there's no way I could have known any of this. I call this the Holy Spirit whisper. When you walk in his will, he starts revealing things before they happen without you even trying. And I think that the intent of all of that is to confirm the findings for the skeptics. It's also to glorify God, and it's to build your faith. So let's listen to this first set of clips. You can hear him talk about the copper pots.
Hey, did we snag you those copper pots you're after?
Okay, I've been meaning to thank you.
Oh, stop it. Unnecessary. You've been such a welcome addition.
Acknowledge.
Why do we keep saying yes? And for what? A private hall pass, a bedroom to ourselves, copper freaking pots? I mean,
so obviously there's something to that. And so what do copper pots mean in terms of spiders in the head? Now, I'm going to go into the chat here because we're going to do a little Q&A, right? Call on the audience and get their response and reaction as to what you just heard. What do copper pots mean in terms of something, in terms of spiders and heads? Let's take a look here. See who gets it first. Now, I'll give you a clue. You want to use the law of reversal, which is what these people do. They use the law of reversal in their words, and the words reveal the truth. What does this mean? What do copper pots have to do with spiders in the head? Yes, the graphene etch life in the shack. Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of you didn't get a notification. Look, if you don't get a notification, you guys just show up at the same exact time every day pretty much, except on the weekends, because you're not going to get a notification most likely. And so that's why I try to do these shows consistently at the same time. There you go. Mickey Mouse Operation got it. Good job, Mickey Mouse. Copper top. Pot backwards is top. Now, this is crazy because copper pots obviously is copper tops. It's the reverse of pots. It's the copper top matrix battery, like in the Matrix, right? So how does this work? Well, by inserting the serpent copper blue blood seed into humanity, and we're a little bit unclear as to exactly how that's going to happen, but I believe it's a series of steps. One of those steps involves injections. And then you couple that with the Jive G matrix, which is the lattice work of copper surrounding all of us, right? Because copper base stations, copper lines, telephone wire, it's all copper. They can then siphon the energy out of humans just like a battery. It's basically electronic vampirism, electronic and spiritual vampirism. Now, they probably did some experiment a long time ago where they stuck a person in the room, injected them with copper, or they had a spider or, like a centipede or a squid inside of some kind of like, an aquarium or something, or in a box, and they probably surrounded it with like copper wiring, and then they were able to send signals into the copper wiring and control the spider or control the squid or any of these other blue blood based creatures with a copper lattice work. And they're trying to recreate that with the networks, aren't they? And somehow once they achieve inserting the copper into humanity, then they will have complete control to control and manipulate our emotions, to turn us against each other, to possess us with demons. Now remember, the copper has to be around us and inside of us for this to work, just like these battery diagrams. Look at this. This is basically what they're creating. Imagine that this above here is the Jive G network, and also the water around the battery, because air is water. And this is copper line here, copper wiring, base stations, the air here. This is us, the copper battery. And then the zinc would be most likely this trails in the sky, or they could just tap into the zinc that's already in our bodies. Why do you think they're pushing this when you get a cold to eat all the zinc, right? Not to say it's going to hurt you, but it's probably going to help you with your cold, but our bodies have zinc in them. So look at this as a diagram of the grid, basically. Unbelievable. We're the battery, and they're drawing power off of us. The grid is drawing power out of us. So now that you know the enemy's plan, then you're going to know what this control app is. Again, let's do a little Q&A here. Let's see who gets it first. What is the control app that they use to release the medication? What does it mean? Let me show you. let's see who gets this one first. So, what is the control app representing visually on his phone that releases the medications into the people's bodies? Let's see who gets it first. I can't really give you a clue on this one because I'll give it all away if I give you a clue. But you guys have seen it before many, many times. Redeem says iPhone. Yes, it's an iPhone. Yes. Magnets. Scans. Update. Let's see who gets it first. Phones. Yes. Okay, so in all fairness, yes, Emma Mash got it. Ouroboros. It is the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. That's what they're visually representing. Now, Redeemed by Yaw is correct as well. The phone is the Jive G network, the control mechanism of the battery, which is us, right? It's how they control us through the Jive G. So both of you guys are actually right. And that's why I do these Q&As, because originally didn't even consider that it was on a cell phone. But you're absolutely right. That's probably actually a better answer than the Ouroboros, but they both are good answers. So good job, you guys. Now, let's keep going here. We're going to start calling this Enter the Stars School, I think. But I think I like this format where we get you guys involved in the decodes. It also legitimizes what we're saying here, that I'm not just making things up, because you guys are seeing the actual symbolism yourselves. And it's not just because you listen to this channel, it's because your eyes are open. You have eyes to see. So ultimately, it's about control, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's about crowd control. It's about mind control. It's about making us accept their agendas, like climate change, making us accept the whole gender thing, multiple genders, making us accept the do what thou wilt mindset, acting on the greater good, which is the hive mind. The only problem with that is that they are the ones determining what the greater good is, and not God. Watch and listen to what they say here about this.
Behave not as they want, but as they damn well should. We'd be selling peace and harmony itself, the ability to compel people to act on behalf of the greater good.
So sorry to interrupt, particularly with news like this.
There you see the 88, and this is the number. I think it's actually the level of the medication that the CEO gets at the end of the film, because basically what happens is they escape, the inmates escape, and Steve, the CEO, ends up dying. He ends up getting a massive injection of his own medicine, taste of his own medicine, right? And he crashes into a mountain. But look at the readout here, the number. It's 88, which of course also is time and space. It's the serpent locked in the Ouroboros of time, trapped here under the firmament until Jesus returns. Let's keep watching here.
We have an attempted escape.
Of course, there has to be a white horse. Always a white horse, as the song plays, Laffadil. Now, interestingly, I'm going to have to dig into this daffodil thing and Laffadil. He gives these medications these peculiar names, just like they do in pharmaceutical industry. And the reason why we have to look into daffodil is because this word, this flower, actually also appears in the TV series called Evil. It's the word that the devil gives to this lady's daughter as some kind of mind control trigger. And he gives her the exact same word, daffodil. So there's something to that. So we're going to have to dig into that as well and see what that's about. Now, here you see the white horse. There always is a white horse. Why? Because this whole thing is the first stage. It's the white horse introducing the rest of the horsemen of the apocalypse. Now, I understand there's a red horse that's been released as well on a cover with Beyonce on it. And we might have to dig into that at some point. I know a lot of other channels have already covered that. But But they're basically parading out the horses of the apocalypse, and they're doing it in plain sight, and nobody sees it except the awake people in the truth community that is slowly dwindling away. I mean, it's been a long run, you guys. I think people are just battle weary. I think Vidco took a lot out of people. I think we were kind of okay before that. The letter that shall not be named took a lot out of people for those that believed in it and false promises. And then Vidco 19 happened, and the truth community has been decimated. And then, of course, the YouTube, it's been an all-out assault on truth community. And you can see it. We've been losing people having heart attacks. It's crazy what's happened to us. And this is why I take this very seriously. This is why I get up every single day, because I know that you guys need me just as much as I need you. That without this hope, without continuing to break down these lies and realize that you're not crazy, that there is an agenda afoot and it's being rolled out every single day, we wouldn't, I don't know what we would do without each other, and this is why I always promise you guys that I won't give up. Okay. I won't give up. But the white horse, we've been over this, basically is the crown, the bow, the toxon. It's pretty much what Vidco was. Vidco was the white horse. Apollo, bringer of disease, bringer of cure. And we know who Apollo is. That was Thump. So, let's keep watching this here. So he's the white horse in this film, right? Cure and disease. Look at this guy, pretty much Chris Hemsworth as Thump, basically. He's the Thump character here. Now, what else do we have here? So those are my thoughts on Spiderhead. They want to turn your head into a copper spider, right? And this is what they want for you, okay? And think of the legs of the spider being like the connectivity or the interface going into your brain. So it's connecting on four on each side. It probably has something directly to do with your vagus nerve, and how they're going to attach into us. You have 12 intracranial nerves on each side. They're going to tap into 4 of the 12. And just like this demon Bale, this is the Bale demon. He is a spider. Okay. He looks a lot like the leader of the medical community who handled the spam-demic. It's all about spiders. The interface tapping into your brain and then ultimately controlling you. Now, this is why people of all ages are now being offered the Smack the Nation. If you haven't heard, this has just been approved for babies. Now, when I saw this, I literally got sick to my stomach. Because back when this started, we specifically said that there would come a day where they would come for the children. I'm going to be careful with my words here. They would come for the children to have them smack-the-nated. And here we are, less than 3 years after all this started, and it has come true. And so there is enough fear out there about Vidco that a significant proportion of parents will be getting this for their children. The U.S. is thoroughly divided politically on this issue, and some people will do it simply to oppose the people who aren't doing it. They even have different brands of these smack scenes based on your political affiliation. You've got these political leaders saying, oh, if you're on this side, take this one. But if you're on that side, take that one. There's a right-wing brand and a left-wing brand. Now, I'm not going to get too much into this announcement other than to know that major cities are getting into this. Okay, they're going along with this. There's Oregon, Cleveland, New York City. Now that they have this emergency, recommendation, it's happening right now. And this will be a heavy spiritual time for all of us, knowing that this is happening. And then you have Baal himself still on his podium, offering his theories and recommendations. He says the Vidco origin evidence points strongly toward natural occurrence now. And this is despite these looming threats of an investigation into how he handled everything. Top Republican on House Oversight eyes Bunter Hyden and Ouchie for 2023 probes. And understand this is false hope. None of this is going to happen. He won't go to jail any more than Thump did, any more than Hillary would, or Bill, or anybody else, or any other political leader that they're using to control the rest of us. This is hopium. They learned a lot from their letter that shall not be named little psyop. They learned that you can tell people that something's going to happen and they'll believe it happens, and you can manipulate them that way. And that's exactly what they did with the letter that shall not be named. And then you get a double doozy at the end of it, because after you've worn people out by crying wolf just because they read it in a headline somewhere, now they're even more easily manipulated because they've given up, and they're just like, oh, whatever. I can't believe what I see in the news. That means I'm not going to believe the truth community, and I'm not going to believe the mainstream news. And so what they've done is they've created order out of chaos with that little psyop that they did. And all of this, these threats and all these things, their purpose is to keep you engaged in the process. Their process, by offering you false promises and solutions to the very situations that they themselves have created. Now, Florida is the only state not pre-ordering these Vidco Smack the Nations for toddlers. Let's read this. Florida, the only state not pre-ordering toddler Vidco 19 Smack scenes. And it says here, as Governor Ron DeSantis, of course, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. He won't facilitate their distribution, though he said they'll be available to those who want them. See, got to read between the headlines here. Now, look, obviously this should be a choice for some people. I say that they should have never even made this thing. But since they have, and some people want to do it, fine. But don't make it a rule. Sadly, many people have been deceived. So here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. And like I said, there's enough fear out there where a lot of people will go do this. Okay. They'll come out with all these recommendations. They'll say why the children need to have it. Some schools will require it now that it's been made available under the emergency order. So you might find yourself as a parent needing to make a decision about this. Right? So these are crazy times, you guys. Crazy, crazy times. Now, here's another false promise that will send right-leaning people into the voting booths to re-elect Trump when the time comes. Notice how they're throwing out all these little carrots to the right, making it sound like, hey, we're just on the verge of winning, to turning America back to the right. All we have to do is keep voting. We'll get Trump in. Look, he's got the Supreme Court in there, and everything's going to be great because now there's a possibility that we can get rid of climate change actions. They're literally doing everything they can to get us re-engaged, aren't they? Remember when they promised to investigate Blind 11? Nothing ever happened. they're actually making us think that the courts are going to reverse policy on climate change. This is the new carrot that they're dangling in front of us. You guys, climate change is people control. And they're never going to give up people control. Never. Let's read this. Republican drive to tilt courts against climate action reaches a crucial moment. There's no way they're going to reverse this. This is how they control people. Through climate change, they're not going to ever give this up. This is like giving the other person your Popstick. Within days, conservative majority on the Supreme Court is expected to hand down a decision that could severely limit federal government's authority to reduce carbon dioxide from power plants. Pollution is dangerously heating the planet. But it is only a start. The case, West Virginia versus Environmental Protection Agency, is the product of a coordinated conservative legal activists and their funders, several with ties to the oil coal industries, to use the judicial system to rewrite environmental law. So, it ain't going to happen. Just understand that. Don't get your hopes up. This is just smoke and mirrors to keep you engaged in the process, to give you hope that something's actually happening or something's being done. Now, Bo Jivin, as you all heard, fell off his bike, skinned his knee over the weekend. I'm sure a lot of people covered it and did a lot of memes on it, and you guys probably got a really good laugh, and it's okay to laugh. But he's dropping the hammer on home furnaces. What does that mean for us? Well, it means that more money out of your pocket to heat your home. More rules. Now, notice how they're going after the cleanest energy that is still a fossil fuel. Propane, natural gas, which is ironically the very same energy that they use when they want to make power in their power plants and then sell it back to us. So it's do as I say, not as I do. Let's read this one so we can see what's in store. The Bo Jivin administration unveils new efficiency standards for home furnaces. So it says here they would limit the release of carbon dioxide and methane. So now you're going to have all this equipment on your stuff, or you're going to have to buy a much more expensive furnace, as they basically will start requiring that the new furnaces convert 95% of the gas they burn into heat. The older models may have a conversion rate as low as 56%. They estimate that this efficiency improvement would save consumers $1.9 billion annually. So they're going to dangle the carrot of you're going to save money, but how much is your furnace system going to cost? It says $500 over the lifetime of each new furnace. Over 30 years, the new standard would reduce carbon emissions. Of course, that's what they say here. Talking about, look at this. It would reduce conventional pollution from chimneys that contribute to respiratory illness. So, say goodbye to your chimney and your fireplace. No more nice fire in the fireplace, because that's going away soon. It's already gone away for my mom in California. They started out with burn days. You can only build a fire in your fireplace on certain days because of quote unquote air quality. And then they escalated that to all new home construction would not be allowed to have fireplaces in California. And pretty soon they're going to say you can't build a fire at all. So your investment of a fireplace now went to zero. People control. By updating energy standards for many carbon-emitting appliances, such as home furnaces, the Bo Jivin administration is working to save consumers money. He doesn't care about saving us money, because if he did, he would have put a moratorium on the gas prices. He would have stopped them where they were in their tracks and said this is the max that anyone's going to be able to charge for gas. That's what he would have done if he cared about saving you money. So this is all hypocrisy. These efficiency measures not only reduce carbon and methane emissions, but also provide huge material benefits to American households in the form of cleaner air, modernized technology, and cheaper energy. So, here we go. So, of course, climate activists love this, but the people who make these furnaces don't, and they're going to say, oh, we're having to invest all this money into this new technology. So now your furnace is going to cost you 10 grand instead of 5 grand. Wow. Now, let's get into some of these last stories. I promised you guys that we would get into this drag queen story hour. Now, got to be careful how we cover this. Okay, I don't hate anybody. All right. But something's going on here, because now, finally, parents are upset and they're standing up. Finally. Well, how long has this been going on? 5 years now? We've been having to read about these stories about people who insist on basically presenting their orientation to children. Drag queen story hour. Now, drag is the first 4 letters in the word dragon. And we know that the dragon is both, isn't it? Now, you know, there used to be a definitive line drawn about what's appropriate for children to see, wasn't there? There was always this line, and everybody knew not to cross it. There were things like even you would wear around children. You wouldn't wear certain things around children. You wouldn't say certain things around children. You wouldn't use curse words around children, right? You wouldn't talk about certain subject matter around children. There used to be a line, and everybody knew where the line was. Now all of a sudden the line is very fuzzy, and it's disappeared. You know, what do you think the entire movie industry rating system is based on? It's based on what's appropriate for children, isn't it? I don't even know why they have that movie rating system, but it's very strict. Children aren't allowed in to see certain movies. Why is that the case with that, but then this is the case with this? I mean, even here on YouTube, we have to designate our videos whether or not they are made for children or not. Now, politics aside, to me, this would be very confusing to a child. I mean, on its face, I mean, I try to think back as, you know, to my childhood and what I would think if I saw something like this. And as a child, in a child's mind, this looks like a lot of fun, doesn't it? It's kind of enticing for a child to see something like this, all the bright colors. They might see this as fun. In fact, it might appear to them to be like dress-up time. Because remember, children, you know, how many boys, you know, put on their mom's shoes and walk around? There's nothing in there that they think is wrong about it. They don't feel like, oh, I'm a boy and I'm wearing girls' shoes. That's just a stage boys go through until you hit puberty. And then you realize that that's not what boys do, right? So for a child, this is confusing. They don't realize the social, sexual, and spiritual ramifications of any of this because it's the mind of a child. It's dress-up time. So there's this false sense of security, and they're preying on the naivety of children, aren't they? So now you get a situation where this all looks like fun. It's like a carnival, like a visual carnival. And they probably like the boisterousness of the person presenting. They're almost like a clown, like it's fun. And I could see children begging their parents to come see this again. And then when the parent says no, the parent or the child will start to resent the parent for not complying with their wishes. Right? Do you see the problem here? And then all of a sudden, this person says, are your parents preventing you from seeing me? And then all of a sudden there's a separation created between the parents and the children. This kind of reminds me of the story of Pinocchio on the island, where he was drawn there, and of course this is a place where your parents would not want their children to be. Eating as much candy as they want, doing whatever they want, going to sleep when they want. And so this is the problem with this. Now I'm not going to read this, but understand that parents are finally starting to stand up. But when I read down in the comments here of some of the things that they're saying, or at least the news story is reporting that they're saying, it concerns me. because these parents that are opposed to this are falling right into the right-left paradigm. And some of the things that they're saying, which fuels the argument that the left is making for them being bigots and things like this. It's not the way to handle it. The best way to handle this is to keep it simple. The only thing these parents should be saying is, my child should not be exposed to your lifestyle preferences based on my religious beliefs. Simple. You don't have to go into all the anti-rhetoric and all that, because all that's going to do is fuel their argument that we are not accepting and not tolerant. But remember, you understand how this works, that the right-left paradigm has given these right-leaning parents this rhetoric to speak. This is why you don't fall into the right-left paradigm. You do what Jesus would do. What would Jesus do? Would he mock these people and make fun of them? No. He would simply say, I listen to my Father in heaven and his will. This is my belief system. I don't want my children exposed to things that are against my belief system. And by you basically pushing your belief system onto my child's belief system through something as simple and basic as getting a story read to them, I'm opposed to that. That's what Jesus would say. And that's what we should be saying, and not get caught up in the emotion of all this, because that's how they're going to finally wipe us all into that club, because you won't have any voice at all to defend you or your children. Now, I'm going to check in with you guys, and we'll get into our very last story, which is Popstick control that's happening right now in our faces, while we're all fast asleep waiting on these promises, right, about reversing climate policy and reversing termination of pregnancy and all these other things that they're promising the right. They're basically saying, our Supreme Court, they're going to get it done. Meanwhile, the controllers are gaining ground on taking all of our Popsticks away, which is really the main thing that they want to do, so that they can finally implement 6G, 5G whiz and beyond to have complete and total control. And then it won't matter what our wishes are, because they'll have complete surveillance state, complete control, and anyone that goes outside the boundaries will immediately be picked up and thrown in a pen or a box. So what we're experiencing now is a huge bait and switch. They're not going to reverse climate policy. They're not going to reverse the child in the womb. They're not going to do it. They're just telling us they're going to do it. So we have hope. So here's what's going on with the Popsticks, as they give us hope and then take something else away with the other hand. So here's the Senate Popstick deal leaves voters on both sides unsatisfied. Let's read what's going on, because I really actually haven't read this yet. It says here, this guy feels betrayed by the GOP senators for supporting a bipartisan Popstick deal. They say chips away at our constitutional right to bear arms. Well, obviously, they weren't upset enough, because they still went through. North Carolina's 2 Republican senators are among the group of lawmakers backing a Popstick reform deal in principle for the first time in 30 years. And it, of course, is on the heels of all these mass Popsticks. This massive shift in a party that has always been a firewall against attempts to restrict Popstick rights. Over 10 Republican senators supporting the deal say they can save lives without sacrificing the Second Amendment rights. Wow. I knew this is how they were going to do it. Just slowly pressuring and chipping away at our freedoms. What's the deal actually? Oh, okay. So here's the red flag laws that we talk so much about. People get mad at me because I talk about how Trump endorsed these red flag laws and said that every state should have them. And so they're going to double down on this and continue to push these red flag laws, which basically means that someone could rat you out based on your social media. They can present that to a judge and say, this person's part of this group or that group, or this person's following, or this person is attached to the people that went to the crapper hole, and I don't feel safe. and they were outside cleaning their Popstick. And I felt intimidated. And next thing you know, armed men show up to your house in the dark of night and remove your Popstick. Let's say you had a bad day and you yelled at your wife and she put a restraining order on you. That's all it takes, you guys. That's all it takes. And tens of thousands of guns have already been removed. You can look this up. How many guns have been removed from people under red flag laws, which Trump endorsed. And you'll see that it's right under our noses. They are taking people's guns. How can you continue to support the president who recommended that? I don't know. I'm just aghast. How can you think that he cares about your rights when it comes to the Second Amendment? I'm aghast. Other people say, oh, well, what's the alternative, Casey? It would be far worse with Bo jiving. Well, that's exactly what they want you to think. They're both working together. Neither of them care about your rights. They're just figuring out a convenient way to take your rights away without angering you and still getting you to vote for them. That's what all this is about. They don't really care. If they had 90% of people believing these should all be taken away, they would do it tomorrow. If they had a real poll that showed that. If they knew they wouldn't have any political backlash, they would do it tomorrow. Both sides. So, here they talk about the red flag laws, which allows courts to remove firearms from those deemed a threat to themselves or others, and criminalizing third-party straw purchases. So, this is what's going on, doubling down on that. See if there's anything else in here. All right. I'll put links to all this for you guys so you guys can read this in more detail, see how it directly affects you in your state. I know we have a lot of Popstick owners on the channel. And I want to make sure that you guys, have what you need in order to, be prepared for what's coming, because there could be some really crazy stuff in that bill because the right's giving in now. So, okay, let me see here. Let's go into the chat here, see what you guys are up to. Yeah, they're really messing with our channel, huh? Look how crazy our people tuning into the channel. It's jumping around. It's almost like as soon as we reach a certain point, they knock it right back down, like throw a bunch of people off. It's unbelievable. We'll just keep on going, you guys. Now, mark your calendars for Thursday because we'll be with ODYSEE TV. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Central Time, which is my time. And so I'm going to have to sleep in or something, make sure I'm fresh for that show. So I want to make sure I do a good job on the show over there. ODYSEE TV on Thursday. I think it's the 23rd. Wait, is it Wednesday? Today's Monday. I think it's the 23rd, so it might be Wednesday, not Thursday. All right. Now let's read in the chat here, see what you guys are up to. All right. Oh, thanks for the Happy Father's Day wishes. Thank you so much, you guys. GoobTube is what we should call it. Yeah, stop voting for these people, you guys. It's just all smoke and mirrors. All smoke and mirrors. Now, notice how the next election is going to be all about how horrible Biden did. That's what it's going to be all about. Watch, mark my words. Campaign rallies is going to be all about how horrible Biden did. Oh, look what Biden did. Your gas price, you're this, you're that, you're that. It's going to be completely different than the argument that he gave in his first election that he won, right? Remember, the first election was, we're going to change things. We're going to go after these people. We're going to go after Hillary and Bill. We're going to investigate Blind 11. We're going to kick out the deep state. Notice that was the first argument. Well, you're not going to hear any of that this time around. All you're going to hear is how horrible Biden's doing. That's why they had to put Biden in place, so that Trump would have something to run against in the next election. That's what this is all leading up to. Because he didn't fulfill any of those promises. I still get people saying, oh, he did go after the deep state. He's got him on the run. Obviously not. Obviously, there's still labs in the Stu Crane. Okay. Obviously, there's still a deep state that's sending billions of our dollars over there without our consent and telling us just to shut up and take it. You got actors saying, oh, stop your whining about the gas prices. Easy for them to say. They're millionaires. They don't sit and worry about how high their gas prices are. Unless they're running a business like a trucking business, then they're probably worried about their gas prices. But other than that, they wipe their butt with $100 bills, these people. They don't care about these kinds of fixed costs that might go up 30%. But for our budget, it represents a good significant portion of our income and our spending, doesn't it? For us, you know, so let's say you make $2,000 a month and you were spending $100 a month in gas, and now you're spending $300 a month in gas or $200 a month in gas. That's a significant impact on your life. So anytime you hear these elite people, these millionaires and billionaires, telling us to shut up and that why is it such a big deal that your gas prices went up, you tell them to go shove it. Because, like I said, they blow their nose with $100 bills. They don't care about these little costs that go up. So don't let these people climb inside of your head and try to make you feel like your anger and your resentment is falling on deaf ears, and that it doesn't matter, and that we're just being whiny. Don't let them ever try to do that. That's a mind control tactic. It's like a Jedi mind trick. So don't let them do it. Stand your ground and tell them. Use that argument. Say, hey, look, you don't care because you're a millionaire. And if they say, oh, well, then you should try to make money too. Say, well, money doesn't matter to me. You know, if you guys would just keep the economy stable so that we would know what the future is going to look like, then we might have a deal here. But you guys keep changing the chess pieces and messing with our lives, telling us we can work from home, then telling us we can't work from home. You know, people sign leases. You know, they move their entire families to work from home. Maybe save a little bit on rent somewhere else. And now, oh, you can't do that anymore. Go back to work. Now you got to move your whole family back and take your kids out of school. The list goes on and on. They don't in any way know what our lives are like on this level. And that just shows you right there that they don't care about us. These little things that they could be doing to make our lives a little bit easier, that don't cost them a lot of money, they won't do. They keep us on our heels. They keep us fighting and scraping for every dollar that we get. You know, they don't care about the supply chain issue because it doesn't affect them. Yet, hey, try building a house right now. See how frustrating that is for you. Can't get half of the supplies. You know, and I know I'm complaining. I'm on a soapbox right now, but my anger is for you guys as well, because you guys are all going through this as well. Now, don't believe for a second that all the blame falls on Bo Jiven. Yeah, it falls on him because he's the president right now, but this is from both sides. The whole setup for where everything is started during the Trump administration and how he handled the spam-demic. When he shut down all these small businesses, turned lives upside down, made us all stay home, basically brought the economy to a halt, empowered the corporations to do what thou wilt at our expense, handed out all this money that weakened the dollar, which caused the inflation. The inflation was already happening. We documented it during the end of Trump's presidency. We were talking about the inflation. It's funny that those videos, before even the mainstream news was talking about inflation, we were already talking about it. We're like, you guys, everything's going up. Why do you think that is? They didn't want that attached to Trump. They wanted to bring Biden in and then blame all that on him. That's why the mainstream didn't cover it. And this is how you see both sides are working together. Because they could have easily gone after Trump on inflation, couldn't they have? They could have easily said, look at this. Inflation is going up under Trump. That would have been a slam dunk. Easy. But they didn't use that card yet, because they wanted to blame Biden for the inflation. Well, the inflation started the first day they sent out the first stimulus checks. I think it was in 2019 or 2020. When those first checks went out, that's when the inflation started. Why? Because there's a bunch of free money going around. So free money means more people spending money, which is demand, and less supply. And the prices go up. Everything went up. Uber went up. Food delivery went up. Food went up. And then they started going, uh-oh, wait a minute. We can't allow people to start building independence from our system. So we're going to have to stop the supply of goods, of real goods, things that you can build that will last you a while, that will provide shelter for you, things that can allow you to be mobile. Notice how all of the car prices went up. Used car prices went through the roof. You see what's happening here? They couldn't allow any of that. They couldn't allow you to have real goods. In other words, a vehicle that runs great, a shelter that's yours without a mortgage. They couldn't allow that. So they had to shut down the supply. You guys, it's an orchestrated attack on the middle class. Orchestrated. It costs almost double what it cost before to build a house. Double. So I'm just giving you guys the truth. So when you feel confused and angry, now you know the truth. Now you know why all this is happening. Okay? Now you can make sense of the world. And then you can deal with it accordingly. By placing your faith in Jesus Christ. And understanding that there are certain things you're not going to be able to get done right now because of the way things are. Understanding too that men aren't going to solve these problems on either side. And relying on the Most High to solve your problems. And just continuing to chip away and trying to gain independence from the system in any way, shape, or form that you can. For some of you, it's spending less money on things. For others of you, it's trying to build something that creates some kind of independence from the system. And that is the goal. Get out of the beast. The beast does not have your best interests at heart. It's only about control. Anyway, I love each and every one of you guys. I appreciate you guys coming out. You guys have any final thoughts or comments that you want to share with the group before we pop off of here today? Restaurants are still closing down in a tourist town. Lisa started a garden. There you go. That's a great way to start independence. They even have certain crops that, like potatoes and things, that can get you through some of the winter months. And as much as you can do with that, that's less food you're buying in the store, and it's actually really good for you. That immediately impacts the demand, which should lower the prices. If we all did that, the prices would all start to go lower. Now, I know not all of us can do that, but for those of us that can, we should. So, no, I don't blame him for everything. As we just talked half the show about Bo driving, I had to remind people it's both sides' faults. Okay? Don't get it twisted. That's your own emotional reaction because you're still wanting to believe in him. That's what that is. It's rearing its ugly head. Notice nobody gets on me because I talk about Bo driving. That's because they don't want to, because they're still believing in Thump. You can always see people's true intentions when they start getting on someone. Half the show we talked about Bo driving, didn't we? But there are certain presidents that had a much bigger role in bringing us into the path that we're in. So, yes, the Red Horse, Beyonce, Flossie from Vermont. Yeah, we mentioned that at the beginning of this show. We might dig into that. I also got to dig into daffodils. The Thump train has crashed. I don't believe that's the case. There are still a lot of people that believe in him. And so he's being propped up by the media through the Supreme Court. Basically, they're building up this hopium through the Supreme Court and his Supreme Court picks. And he'll leverage that in his future campaign rallies. He'll say, look, we're almost getting it done. We need to get Joe Biden out of there. And that's how he's going to move forward. And he will get reelected. There's a lot of people that believe in him. And it's all based on opposition to Biden. How much they hate Biden. So, yes, it goes way, way back. We've talked about the previous administrations when they were in power. We did a lot of videos on Bush. We did a lot of videos on Obama. So don't let other channels or other people or provocateurs try to put it in your head that we're just picking on Trump for no reason. Because there's a long track record of covering all these presidents. Just so happens now, he is the key. He's the white horse right now. and everything else is kind of smoke and mirrors. And we're wading through the information, trying to put it all together and figure out what the future holds. And I believe the future holds that he will be reelected. That's what the setup is. It seems that way. They're not developing any of these other candidates. There is no right-leaning leader coming forward. The left is basically putting all their hope into Biden. I guess they're going to run him again, unless there's some new information. And he's sure to lose if they do. So the setup is that Trump will be reelected. And I think it'll be, what is it going to be, the first time in history that a president has, lost a term and then got it back after skipping a term? Might be the very first time this has happened, which would fall right under the deadly head wound spiritually, wouldn't it? If this is the first time this happened, that would be interesting, right? And then recovering from the head wound. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I mean, I could be wrong about some of this, but this is what I'm picking up on in terms of what I feel is going to happen here. Yeah, he has a White Horse Ranch. There's the Thump's White Horse Ranch was the origination of all the money made out of the Yukon of his forefathers. They made a bunch of money with houses where women go and give themselves away. That's where it all started, in the Yukon. And then his golf course has a White Horse Spa because he remembers the White Horse from the Yukon and he likes it. And it's great to him that he can do that to women, that he did that to women, and that his family got rich off of that. So he just renamed his golf course spa White Horse. And that logo has a 666 in it. You guys, there is so much stuff. It's not, I don't even know how a single Christian could vote for this person. But they do, because they're thoroughly deceived and because they hate the left so much that they're willing to give up what they know in the core of them is a problem just to believe the lie. So that's what's really going on. So thanks for reminding us about that as well. So Ty says the deadly head wound and the Popstick has already happened. Yeah, I don't really argue biblical prophecy because a lot of it's subjective. So I'm not going to say you're wrong or I'm right, because I could be wrong. But a lot of this prophecy manifests many, many times before it actually happens in this nested reality. So sometimes there are partial manifestations of this prophecy and fulfillment of some of these prophecies. Okay. Sometimes the enemy's trying to fulfill a prophecy to throw us off the trail. There's all kinds of scenarios in terms of prophecy when it comes to some of this stuff. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and pop off here. I appreciate everybody coming out, regardless of your viewpoint on some of this stuff. Even if you disagree with me on some of this stuff, I'm just glad to have you here. We'll get back into it tomorrow. I've got a bunch of stuff on tap. I'll publish that show and schedule it as soon as I get the information. And I love each and every one of you. Have a great day. Take care and be safe, you guys.